and wonderful to see you. So this is Mimi Kuo-Deemer. I'm Kat Farrance. I'm founder of Movement for Modern Life, and Mimi is just the most amazingly talented yoga, qigong, meditation teacher, and it's a massive privilege for me that you are kicking off our home yoga retreat today. So thank you, Mimi.
Thanks for asking me to join this.
Well, I think it's really great to have you here because I've been on live retreats with you, and they are just phenomenal. Like, you're able to go to such a good depth, and I think a lot of the depth that we go to on retreat is because of the way that you are able to set things up. And you set everything very intentionally. Now, of course, here we all are, all in our separate houses. We're not physically getting that community, which is such an important part of a retreat. But,
Yeah, I think, though, that there is so much opportunity for creating a structure and the intention and the consistency that the home retreat that you've set up offers people. And the people who are doing this retreat, I've been seeing some comments. They've started. They've done the yoga 3D class today. I think that kind of collective sense that there's many people practicing the same class together. Many people will be going through this together. We may not feel that immediately because we're not talking to each other face to face, but there is something powerful about this collective presence and commitment, and the shared journey of something like a home retreat. So I just saw a few comments, and it's just really nice to see many of you here. And Kat, would you feel comfortable if we just dove into the opening of what?
Absolutely. Lead us. Yeah.
So first of all, I would like to extend a huge warm welcome to everyone who is here and who has taken this up as an opportunity to be here now. And the theme of this retreat, I think, is so powerful and so simple, and the power is in its simplicity. The original "be here now," I think, who knows what's original and who said what first, but it's very often ascribed to Ram Dass. And he has a podcast. Well, people who support his work have a podcast called the Be Here Now podcast, the Be Here Now Network. And his words originally were, nothing to do, nowhere to go, but be here now. And yet, in that simplicity, there's a lot of richness that we can explore, and you can explore as someone taking part in this retreat. And what I thought maybe we could do first is, if you could get, wherever you are at home, get a piece of paper and a pen, and take a few moments and write down what the feeling is for you to be here now. Just sit with that for a moment. What arises in your felt experience? What does it mean? Maybe it's a drawing that comes out when you put pen to paper, or some words. But what does it mean, and what is the feeling to be here now? If you're just joining, the invitation is to take a moment and reflect on the words, be here now. Maybe write something down or draw something if that comes instead of words, some pictures or an image. And if anything stands out that you might want to share, you can type it in briefly to the chat box, or save it for yourself. No one's going to be collecting these. It's really for you. And this is also part of a home retreat, is that you're in part guiding your own ship through this and exploring a journey for yourself that's also held in this container of movement, modern life, and the curation that's taken place. Being present in the moment. Yes, be here now. Kat, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, for me, because my intention for this retreat is really simple. I want to learn to be more present, because what I've realized, I suppose, from lockdown is that a lot of my time is spent scheduling and worrying about things. And for me, being here now will be about a sense of fearlessness. So the fearlessness about the future, freedom that brings, and happiness. I think that is what it will, what it does mean when I do find those rare moments that I can get a snapshot of what it is to be here now. Mm-hmm.
Freedom and fearlessness, powerful words. Seeing in the chat box, togetherness, me time, interest and excitement. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love that idea of interest and excitement, because when we really step into here, here is simple and there's so much to be curious about. Every moment here changes. It's a fluid, dynamic thing, right? And here is our response to, again and again, what is arising? What is the mystery, if you will, and the quality and the feeling, or the tightness, or the joy, or the confusion, or the whatever it is that, the security, the insecurity here is constantly changing. And to be curious about it lets us start engaging with it in a less reactive way, in a way that's a little bit perhaps more creative, or a little bit more kind of inquisitive and inquiring. And as yoga practitioners, many of you also do some Qigong and Pilates, but as people taking part in this retreat, you are, I'm going to just make the assumption that, you're in your bodies. You have a fluency, or a growing fluency with an embodiment and a quality of living through not just your head, but the dynamic and responsive intelligence of your cells and your muscles and your bones. And so to be curious and to be inquisitive about something is not just something cerebral for us. Mm-hmm. It's actually the lived, felt experience that's unfolding in our whole experience and body. So I'm just seeing some of the other. This is wonderful. I'm seeing these chats. Means color and breath. Beautiful. Yeah. Synesthesia, right? When senses kind of overlap and we see music or we hear colors. Means color and breath and openness to all my senses. Beautiful. Had a tough day, wasn't going to join the call, but decided even if you're not feeling great, you can still be in the moment with all of you now. Wonderful. And this is exactly what I just spoke to be here with the difficulty, the joy, the ease, the confusion. We're just here, Mm-hmm. And then if we can learn to be here and not kind of move away from here into what it should be like, or what it was like before, or what we hope it will be, or it was better then. Right? We have a much richer opportunity to respond in a fresh way, in an embodied way, in a way that really invites some insight or some depth. Being here now sometimes brings discomfort in your belly, and your heart beats a little faster. Precisely. It's strange because I can also feel more at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And my thoughts are quieter, more subtle. Contrast is remarkable. And it is remarkable. And that is one of the most beautiful things about the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes think like, oh, if we're here now, being here now means we're Zen and we're totally kind of at peace and calm, and, whatever arises, we're okay with it. Actually, we're in it. We're in the soupy, weird matrix of everything happening. And when we're here, we open ourselves to the whole spectrum of our experience of being human.
Mm-hmm.
We don't leave things out. And that's beautiful and terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can open to the beauty and the terror equally, hey, we're going somewhere interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what we've been faced with in this lockdown and with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I read beautiful news about sea turtles hatching more in Thailand and India, and whales being seen in places they haven't been seen, and kind of people hearing birds in Soho in the center of London.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that mixed with the levels of, pressure in the NHS and the number of deaths and the racism against the Chinese and the accusation and the blame. And it's all there here. It's all here, right? And our job really is to be here now. And how are we going to meet this? Be here now, to me, a sense of peace, still waters, feeling calm, the opposite to how I feel now. Well, I would actually say the fact that you feel the opposite is there is exactly to be here now.
Mm-hmm.
Is to open yourself to everything that it is to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Shrugging off past and future. Yeah, you're here. Excited, filled with anticipation, hope for discovery. Yeah. Stop working in my mind and let go. Yeah. I'm going to just talk about that for a moment, because sometimes we think of the mind as like the culprit of all bad things. We're like trying to get rid of all the thoughts, and the mind is just this hang up that gets in the way of our true experience. But to be here now is to be human. As a human, we're here. And as a human, we have this incredible capacity for logical, clear, bright, radiant thoughts, compassionate, loving, generous, and caring ideas and thoughts. The mind is not altogether a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it is radiant. It's luminous. Most of the time, though, it's kind of like on a hamster wheel, and it's just running around and around and around, which is why we do practices like yoga and meditation and qigong. To be here now is actually to move out of the dominance of the hamster wheel running and into the fullness of our lived embodied experience more, and recognize that we can train our orientation of thinking. We can quiet Ram Dass again. He says, why meditate? Well, it opens you to this freedom to remember the interrelatedness of things, but also to quiet the mind. Meditation quietens our mind. It's not that the mind is bad, but sometimes it's just noisy. You quiet the mind, you open the heart, we do what we can to relieve suffering in the world. So glad I'm not the only one feeling excitement and anticipation, grateful for things we can appreciate each day. Very true, even on the days when we're fearful for the future. Be mindful and focused, one time only. Ditch the lists. Yeah. And, so planning is not a bad thing. Let me just say that. If you didn't plan, you wouldn't be here. If we didn't live in the future a little bit, we wouldn't actualize things like this, and Kat would never come up with this idea. So again, the mind is not a bad thing, and we're not trying to get rid of all the things that make us naturally a human being. This is this is something we should celebrate. To be here now is this quality that we have of a very exciting and poetic and expressive way of being part of the natural world. Right? The problem is that it gets hung up. We get hung up sometimes, and there's a story I heard from my Dharma teacher on the back page of an old newsletter. The Dharma and the drama. The Dharma is like nature, right? The natural way of things, the natural order of the universe, and we're part of that. So being human, we think, we plan, we remember, we get lost in thoughts. All of that's okay. We have fears, anxieties, we have joys and anticipations. All of that is good because that's who we are. That's what mind does, it thinks. But when mind gets caught up in drama, then we get stuck and we forget all the other things that are happening here. Right? So to be here now is to check in, like, when are we kind of gotten stuck in the drama? I'm just going to go through a few more of these and then I'm going to move on with our opening. But intention is to give others space. Previously, I've not tried to be judgmental, but just using the word judgmental brings it to conscious and subconsciousness. I feel that by giving others space, we'll all benefit. Yeah, space is great and judgment is normal. Mm-hmm. If we, who doesn't have any judgments? The problem is like, when we let that judgment kind of define ourselves or others and we get hung up on it. I'm thinking a lot about Ram Dass because he's here now, but he says, I've done all of the drugs, the meditation, you name it in my life, and it hasn't cured a single one of my neuroses. They're just not the monsters they used to be. Mm-hmm. And we temper the drive and momentum behind our ego, but we recognize that judgment is there, the prickliness, the clumsy way in which we meet our experience and say the wrong thing and hurt people. It's all okay. Mm-hmm. It's about what we do with that is valuable and important. Not had the best day, but made it seem even more important to join this evening. Excellent. Yeah, be here. Be with the difficult day and then be here. And be here. Curiosity change is another step, looking after me, but not only you. Yeah. Lockdown has cultivated an awareness of us all being together in a group where we can share the same values. Before lockdown, did not occur to me that these values with others. Yeah, that makes sense. To feel weight, ease, delicacy of listening, balance, my skull, ribs, and pelvis in conversation and unfolding space. Beautiful. Yeah. Our lived wholeness of experience is so undervalued sometimes. And at the heart of the Buddha's teachings was mindfulness of the body. It's the first thing he teaches, right? Because that's where we're here. Everything is arising here. To feel my weight, ease, delicacy of listening. Yeah, all of that, ready to dance. So when we go on a retreat, and even if this is a retreat that you're doing at home, you have an opportunity to explore what it means to live. And Leonard Cohen, I listened recently to a podcast where Pico Iyer, who wrote a lot of the album kind of stuff and intros to Leonard Cohen's music, he said that when he talked to Leonard Cohen, Leonard Cohen had done, like Ram Dass, all the drugs, all of the exciting, tintillating things that rock stars did back in the day. And he said that the biggest adventure he ever had was his 7 years in the monastery. By himself, pretty much, doing normal, ordinary things. And I think about this a lot when I start retreats or I go on retreat, but Leonard Cohen says, I don't go on a retreat to forget about my life. I go on a retreat to remember how to live. And when we remember how to live, for him, it's about how to stand, how to walk, how how to move, how to eat, how to be. Things we gloss over really quickly because we are often distracted, not present, somewhere else, feeling separated from the present moment and our own experience of what's arising. We forget these things when we're too busy. And when we go on a retreat, or when we set up the conditions for a retreat, it's going to be a little bit different for you at home because you're at home and there's responsibilities that come with home. But in a way, there's this invitation to move into a structure that lets you think a little bit less about certain things. Very simply, Kat and her team have curated the next 10 days of practice. So you don't have to think about, which class should I do now today? Yeah. And you don't have to necessarily think about what kind of style of practice do I want to do today? They've kind of selected things that take that thinking out for you, so you can give a little more attention to actually just being and feeling. And then every day we have these live sessions. And if I could say that, there's one thing that you could do to commit as a commitment to this retreat, is to really show up for these. Even if you don't want to, like some of you said, I had such a bad day, I wasn't thinking about coming, but just there's a structure that's there that gives you some freedom, right? And okay, at least at 5 o'clock every day, I'm going to be doing this. And at least every day, I'm going to be doing 1, maybe 2 of the practices that are recommended. And there's a freedom in that structure that is really, really valuable. On a normal retreat, that freedom is even more kind of accessed because you don't have the cooking to do or the cleaning to do. You don't have to think about your meals, what you're going to cook, who's going to clean up. You just go from the yoga practice to your room, to the dining room, to the garden, and then to the fireside, kind of couches, and then back to the yoga. So it's a very simplified way of living. Because we don't have that, maybe you don't have the ability to necessarily have someone cook for you and plan your meals and do all that. Think of a few things, though, that you could do to support yourself and simplify your life during this time. And in simplifying your life, you'll have a lot more energy and time to direct towards how to live. And when we learn how to live, it's to be here now. Right? We're here rather than somewhere else. And here could bring up a lot of difficulties. Because when we're here, when the noise fades away, we come up against some hardness and resistance and insecurity, fears. But we can also have time to look at those. And the more we sometimes distract ourselves away from those things, the more festering they become, or sometimes we intentionally kind of keep those at bay and not deal with them. And that can be very good depending on your individual circumstance. Like certain fears, if you're in a violent relationship, you don't want to deal with that if the person who's being violent is with you, right? You want to maybe take another thing to consider that's like you can work with, that's like a safe one. But if you push things away, the tendency is for them to push back much harder. Right? So by simplifying things, some ideas that you might be open to: spend 3 hours offline every day.
Oh, I like that. I'm up for that.
Don't bring your phone if you go for a walk. Turn it off for 3 hours. Lock it in a drawer if it's too tempting. Shut your computer down. Just a few hours a day, 3 hours a day, and that will really open up some space for you. The other thing you might consider doing is creating like a very clear schedule for yourself during this time. say, okay, I'm going to do my practices, but I'm going to commit to doing them every day at X hour in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the 5 o'clock kind of sessions. But to create some structure, and that simplifies a lot because our brain doesn't have to start thinking about what do I need to do now. Like it knows, okay, there I'm going here, there I'm going here.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience of having been on retreats where there's that schedule set up and leading and guiding retreats where that schedule is set up is profoundly nourishing and profoundly supportive of deeper inner work, which is kind of the heart of the retreat and the intention of, really being here now. And, here we are 7 weeks into this confinement and lockdown, starting the 7th week. I actually had to go back to my calendar and check if that was actually true. 7 weeks, And for some, it might be a lot of anxiety, like how much longer is this going to go on? Mm-hmm. I've heard from others, may this lockdown never end. Wherever you fall on that spectrum or somewhere in between and not sure, it's all good, right? We've all got such individual experiences, and it's really important to honor that. But it's also really important to see what your experience is and to be very honest with that. And that's the being here with that, which will allow you some space to sit with it. I was reading something the other day from White Eagle, Hopi Indigenous, and the whole premise was: do we use this time and potentially slide into a hole, or do we go through a portal? Beautiful image and kind of this movement of these possibilities. And sure, the hole is there, and we're inevitably going to slip down it. But we can also look at this opportunity just to see that we're in the hole. If we're there. And some people, you may feel like this lockdown and this time has really closed down the life that you've had before. Mm-hmm. How you live, it's limiting now. Maybe uncertainty looms and there's a fear, and all of that will cause many of us to contract or have higher levels of anxiety and worry. Sometimes also being home is not really safe shelter. As they're saying, home can be confining and crowded or filled with tense and angsty teenagers who feel like their summers have been taken from them, or their possible futures have been eradicated, and there's a whole life that they want to live and they haven't lived it. And some will kind of feel that right now this lockdown has meant a loss of income or job or security or even home or access to health services, access to parents who are unwell or dying or have died. This can feel like a big threat to our security and our normalcy. And when this happens and our sense of like normalcy and security are threatened, what often can happen is that we lash out, or we feel selfish, or we feel angry, and we kind of move into just sort of self harmful or other harmful tendencies. And all of that is okay. But it's our opportunity to start to be here with those things. Because if we're not here with those things, how are we going to go through the portal? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for others, we might feel really alive and rested, right? And like much better than we were normally. And home is actually home, because I was listening to a podcast with Margaret Atwood, and she was saying that so many people just seem to use home as a place to sleep. And now it's actually, they're living in their home and they're investing in their home and they're creating a home, and it's so nourishing, and they're cooking for themselves. And, home is actually something like a blessing. If we are in a position like that, let's count our blessings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also recognize that some of the changes that we may want to make in our lives this opportunity and this time can be a very good one to put some energy into that. To be here now with the blessings of what we feel, and extend that out in ways that we can to support others who are not in a home that is secure or in a life that feels nourished. I know a friend who she told me it was the most meaningful experience in her life the other day, and she went to a soup kitchen that her church runs in central London in Trafalgar Square, and they fed like thousands of people. And she said she's never experienced something like this. Like, and everyone was so grateful. They were keeping social distancing, but everyone was just like, thank you, thank you. You don't know what this means. And it's really important. And all of this is possible. And wherever you fall on this gamut of experience, the best thing we can do, though, is to be here with our experience. To be here as the way into a more insightful and perhaps less bristly and prickly outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And many of you today did the class Yoga 3D, and for me, that slowing down, the deceleration, the de-aggravation of the things that are tight and tense in our minds or our bodies. And then the simplification, the disentangling from things that are too complex, are really supportive to being here now.
Yeah.
And when we're here, Yoga 3D, we see things more clearly. Right? We can see. Someone wrote on a post, like, she didn't think she was moving that fast, but actually doing the class, she recognized how much she was kind of rushing through things. And we give ourselves the space that we sometimes don't afford ourselves for whatever reason. And we start to see what is here. We're being here with what is actually arising right now. And clearly, seeing more clearly also lets us dive in a little bit more deeply. And this is the inner work that a retreat can offer you. Yeah. So, yeah. The other thing that, just looping back a little bit, to help you really kind of make the most out of this retreat and this opportunity, is to do other activities that you normally have to do, like cooking, like cleaning, like looking after your children's homework if you've got kids. But to do them with a sense of kind of embracing them and celebrating them as a practice. Like, let your practice move through the whole day. I remember once I was weeding and I was getting like competitive with myself, but also goal orientated. I was like, I just need to finish this row of the potatoes and weed it all. And then the next row, I'll do that one. And I was starting to feel like tired and kind of cranky and I remembered a story that Martin, my teacher, told me. He's like, yeah, when I lived in the ashram, my teacher told me to paint the windowsills. So I went and I bought paint and I got my brush and I started painting the windows. And then the guy comes over. He's like, Martin, what are you doing? It's like, oh, Babaji, I'm painting the windows. He's like, no, Martin. God paints the windows. Your job is to take care of the brush. So, when you're cooking, when you're cleaning, is there a way to let yourself be present and really here with the simple task at hand? And through that process, you might be very surprised by the insights that arise for you, the spaciousness and the lack of needing to get somewhere. I remember also when I was taking this big trip to move my mother to California, and I was feeling overwhelmed by all the things I had to do, like, movers and shippers and banks and lawyers and my mother. Martin also gave me some advice that it really helped me, and I'll share with you. said, rather than trying to get through life, what would it be like to let life unfold around you? Rather than trying to get to the end of, the hallway vacuuming,
Mm-hmm.
hoovering, they say here, let the hoovering unfold around you.
Mm.
So, and that's what it actually means in a sense to be kind of embracing this here-ness. And maybe that's already happening for some of you during this lockdown. I've heard people say that they're hearing the sounds of spring awakening more clearly. People are seeing the trees leafing and the blue sky more fully, and they're really getting a sense of like, oh wow, nature, and drinking in this kind of experience is a real kind of gift of presence, of being here. But also sometimes we tend to, in our minds, try to interpret it like, oh, what does that mean? Does it mean that there's been a change in the climate and because what will it be when it ends, and will it go back to the way? And actually, just leave it alone. Let it be. Rather than try to imbue it with like special significance or deeper meaning, just like the sky is blue, the birds are chirping, and wow. Right? This utterly incomprehensible sense of this happening and me knowing it opens you to a potential of a very vast and mysterious moment of here. Yeah. And then when we're actually here, we can do as Ram Dass says. He says, in these situations, someone says, Ram Dass, the world is ending. There's so much violence, there's war, there's greed, there's anger. What do I do? And his answer is quiet the mind, open the heart, do what you can to relieve the suffering in the world. Next day, someone comes to him and says, Ram Dass, it's the dawn of a new era. So much love. I can't handle it. And there's so much compassion, and the world is so beautiful. What next? He says, quiet the mind, open the heart, do what you can to relieve suffering in the world. And how do we do that best? Practice. Meditate. Move. Be in your body. Right? All of that is this invitation to be here, and it provides this beautiful link of yourself to your breath, which is never separate from the world that's breathing around you. Right? Connects you to a sense of what's happening inside of you and different sensations and impulses and your response to them, which is always a product of and related to, changing in the seasons, what you ate, which was grown by the soil and the wind and the rain and the sun. We're part of everything. We're so interrelated, and we forget that very, very quickly. And each of us is part of the whole, and this is another quality of being here now, is to remember that we are not separate, but we are always part of a completeness and a totality. You can't name it, because as soon as you try to say what totality is, it collapses it, right? But we're here and we're part of that. And when we feel separate, that's when we feel anxious and sad, confused and worried. The other day I went to a tree in the forest nearby my house, and it was this beautiful beech tree, and I asked it if there's anything that I need to know. And it said, rest deeply into the trust that all is okay. Rest deeply into the trust that all is okay. I'll confess something to you. I don't really feel much has changed for me in this time, because I spend a lot of my time thinking about impermanence and death. But I think about these things regularly because they make me live fully and with so much more deep appreciation for what I have and what this life is. I don't know what's coming around the corner. It might not be the virus that kills me. It could be, bus. It could be something I eat. Right? But right now, this moment, very rich and vast. And any moment, it's filled with that possibility. And this is what I think we can lean into during this time. There'll be philosophy talks. There'll be invitations to go deeper into some of the real core of the teachings and wisdoms that have kind of upheld and moved these traditions forward to our contemporary lives. It's not just down dog. So that's the invitation. Just a little recap. Create a structure, schedule, practice all day long, go offline a few hours a day, commit to a regular time to do your practice every day, and commit to being here at 5:00 for those talks. And you'll get a lot more out of this retreat with that commitment and that structure. And retreats are deep, they're beautiful experiences, and you can create this at home, obviously with some caveats, different conditions and terms, but there's a lot that's there. I think Kat has some practical things though that we might want to just go over, and then we can open it up for some questions and comments and maybe a short sit at the end.
Yeah, so gosh, I mean, first of all, Mimi, Sandy feels so much calmer and grounded after listening to you, Mimi, and I must say, I feel exactly the same. Just hearing your wisdom and knowing that you've studied these things with your teachers for so many years, so that you can relate them to me and to the community. It's really powerful, and it's amazing to know that you're sitting there in Oxfordshire. And we're all sitting, in our separate houses, but we're very connected. And right now I'm feeling very, very connected to every member of this community. So first of all, the first thing of housekeeping I'd like to give is a big thank you to everybody. Like massive gratitude for showing up, because it's not easy, because we're all, as Mimi says, we're on retreat, but we've all got 100 things that we could be doing. And there are loads of distractions. I mean, I'm a great one for being distracted. And I feel like I'm needing this retreat. I only set the things up that I need. So I'm needing this as much as you guys. So I think it'll be an amazing journey to be on. And I love that thought of going through it intentionally. Yeah, and we've got plenty of interesting stuff at 5 p.m., as Mimi says, every day. That's going to be our tether point, our focus. So if you can just do your daily practice. And the thing that I would say is that the wonderful thing about doing home yoga is that you can really customize, you can really bespoke. So if your body isn't feeling as fit, you're not feeling as well for whatever reason, maybe you have COVID, maybe you're recovering from something, go easy. Just because you're not doing a movement practice doesn't mean you can't do the practice, do a yoga nidra, something restorative maybe, because it's so important, I think, during the retreat that we support and nourish ourselves with the things that we need. So the thing to say is that the class that I've chosen might not be appropriate for your body. So do listen to your body and let it be your guide through this, and don't push yourself. But other than that, it's really just try to post on the movements group, use our community, because it's nice to know not only the great uplifting things that we're all feeling, but also do share the moments of worry, anxiety, and these things as well.
It's all here, isn't it, Kat? And this is the beautiful thing about your intention for, and the theme of the retreat is that we're here, like to be here with everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's all I'd say, and I'm looking forward to the meditation. Do post your comments, and if you don't have a chance to post now, or if something comes up for you later on, maybe just write in the group. And Mimi and I and the team, we're all here to support you.
Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
So let's do a short. Actually, let's just see if there are any questions or comments, and spend maybe a few minutes to field those questions if you have any. I'm just looking back through some of the comments. Love this idea of practice all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think where we put our attention and our energy is stronger and more potent than we can possibly know. Okay? And that's not to say that that's easy, but it's the intention and the willingness to be sincere in your efforts that is the most important. And as many times as you forget and you're not mindful and you're not practicing, cool, you've recognized that you're not. And that is the key golden little nugget that you want to be constantly kind of reminding yourself of, I wasn't here. I wasn't here right now. Come back. You know, and the moment you come back, you're learning how to live again.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that is not contracted and tight and confused and lost in thought or compulsions and whatever. It's actually, you're free. You're no longer caught up and confused. You're, with the breath, cutting vegetables, dusting the whatever. And the recognition is the most important thing. And the slipping up doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
All of us are going to do it. All of us are going to be whatever, because that's our nature, right? We're human. We have these inclinations and tendencies. We're just working through our practice to make them less defining of who we are and less of a hook that kind of ensnares us and pulls us along. Before we know it, we're like far away from where here is. Right? So our practice is just about like coming back, unhooking if the kind of snare has trapped us. And then the moment we're unhooked, we're free.
Mm-hmm.
And the freedom, the freeness, Martin likes to say, the freeness, yeah, it's just a quality and a taste that is so nourishing. You know, Kat, you were saying freedom is one of the qualities that you felt. Is this being recorded? Yes, I think Reki replied, and she'll put the link up. Is it right that there will be a second asana practice each day? Kat, you want to answer that one?
Yes, there is. And if you go on to the first practice, well, Raki, if you could just write out where you can find the second practice, that's probably easiest, because we didn't put it on the main thing because we don't want to overwhelm people. But yeah, there is a second one. And of course, we'll post that on the Movers group as well.
Okay, great. Gosh, so many comments back through looking at, unfortunately on this, I don't see people's names, but I'm just seeing someone wrote that Ram Dass, I think, also said, release expectation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No expectation, no disappointment, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was Ben. Thanks for that, Ben.
All things shall pass. It's very true. And all things are part of a fluid and changing experience.
Mm-hmm.
I love this line, you know, you never step into the same river twice. And Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, was the first one to say it, but even more relevant to me is that Pocahontas said it next in the Disney movie. Yeah. She's a wise one. Somebody said at one point, whatever I said brought tears to her eyes. Tears are a good thing. You know, I have realized that I cry now when I hear something true. that feels like truth. When it's real. And that runs the whole gamut of emotions and experiences, but what feels real and authentic. Yeah, it makes me cry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's finish this. If no one has other questions, let's finish this with a few minutes of sitting. If you rather lie down, you've been sitting for a while, you're most welcome because we can't see what you're doing and you're free to do what you like. You can stand in Qigong Wuji, you can sit, you can lie down. But we'll take a few minutes together. To be inhabiting the experience, the breath, the body. And what's that like now for you? And sounds that I hear of birds. How does that land in the field of your experience? Maybe things that flow in and out of your awareness, beginning to know them more clearly, intimately. Could be a thought, could be the breath, the arising and dissolving of things. And to be part of this incredibly, incomprehensibly beautiful lived experience with all its beauty and terror. What's that like now? And the inquiry doesn't have to be conceptual. When I say, what's it like? What's it lived like in your body? The dance of the experience in the blood and cells and bones and muscle and flesh. And can you be here with what is? You're rising and passing, letting it simply be just like this. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, but be here now. I wish all of you a very, very nourishing and rich retreat ahead in the coming days together. And thank you very much to Kat and to Raki and Jess and all the others who have worked very hard behind the scenes to put this together. And through this process and time, may each of us just find our way again and again to be here. And through that being here, can remember we're not separate. We're always part of a whole. And each of us has the ability to let our minds become more quiet so our heart can feel richer and more open and full. And we can look at the ways in which our own suffering arises and ameliorate that in kind ways. And also extend a sense of kindness and compassion into the world. Thank you all. It's been a real honor to be here. Grateful for you to invite me, Kat, and I'm optimistic that I will see you in person soon.
I am too, gosh, and I'm so grateful to you, Mimi. Thank you. That was really moving. And thank you so much to everybody for joining in.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's been such a nice group, even from just the chats messages I see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a peaceful evening, everybody, and with massive of gratitude to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for being here. Be here now.
All right. Take care. Bye.